everybody, it's ChristopherNotWalken. Welcome to the Dirty Nerdy Show, and with me today we have a very special guest. Welcome, Gaslamp ASMR, to the show.
Hey, Chris. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate being here.
I appreciate having you here. It's such a great pleasure to have you on. Finally.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your content, because I am seeing all sorts of things that are amazing, like 5 astronauts. You want to tell us what that's about?
Well, that was... So I guess one thing you'll probably notice on that channel, hopefully, that you'll notice or anybody would notice, is that it's a wide variety, almost like a schizophrenic collection of, widely disparate kinds of topics. And, that all is just stuff that I'm interested in, because I end up being interested in a lot of things, right? Yeah. And that particular piece of content was, it was something that popped into my head earlier this year when we found out that Gene Cernan, commander of Apollo 17, had passed away. Mm. And, I've got this list on my phone of just kind of a running list of ideas that I've been putting together since last summer when I first started thinking about doing the channel. And, some of these videos come from the list, and some of them are like this one, where you hear something or you see something and a light bulb goes off, right? Yeah. So in January, we find out Gene Cernan passed away. He was the last guy on the moon. In fact, that's how he was colloquially known, as the last man on the moon. And back 15 years ago or so, when all of these guys were traveling around a lot more often for like book signing tours and lectures and stuff like that, he's an astronaut that I got to meet in person. And I had met 5 Apollo era astronauts during those days. Dang. And so I thought, well, maybe this would be a cool idea. One, as an homage to Cernan, but also as just kind of a tribute to that era and an acknowledgement that we haven't been back. We haven't been out of Earth orbit again since that time, to maybe gather up some recollections of the 5 astronauts that I had been lucky enough to meet, get their autographs out and some books that they had written and stuff like that, and go through that stuff. So that's what the second half of that video is. The first half is me assembling a little command and service module Apollo model. So you get a lot of nice, delicate, intricate hand movement and that kind of thing. So there's kind of 2 things going on in that video. Just one example of the, various things I've been putting out there since August.
When you think of the Apollo program and the whole like Gemini program and the technology that it had to take a lot of balls, because you're essentially launching someone into space in a tin can.
That's exactly right. And that's why that, pretty much all those guys, except Harrison Schmitt, who came from the scientific community, but that's why all those guys are test pilots, right? Because you got to have a particular kind of wiring in your head to make that your life's work. So,
yeah. So what got you fascinated with space?
Oh, I cannot remember a time when I wasn't, frankly. Now I'm a little too. I don't have any first-hand memories. My mom would tell me that I sat in front of the TV during all that stuff, right? But I was just still a little too young. But my early memories were still of a period, there in the early 70s where it was still a big deal. I mean, even after the last 3 Apollo missions had been canceled, in popular culture, it was still kind of a big deal, right? Yeah. And so there's books about it, and, your local gas station was, you'd get a commemorative glass if you bought 10 gallons of gas, right, and all this kind of stuff. So it was still stitched into the culture. And, my earliest memories are from that era. I had a few books about, all the missions put together and stuff, and I just couldn't get enough of that stuff. It's like even when I was a little kid, I still kind of recognized that what we were seeing was the tip of the spear in terms of human exploration, right? Yeah. We were seeing, when you had the New World and Columbus and all like that, you're sitting in Europe and everything that's across the big water, right, is the big question mark, right?
Yeah.
Well, aside from, deep sea stuff, I mean, there's not a lot of question marks left on Earth, but out in space, the moon, that's a question mark, right? And we were seeing guys go out and stick a fork in it, it's amazing. And so I guess that somehow, I don't know. I mean, I didn't have any science or math whizzes in the family. My parents didn't come from that industry, but something about it. And then in high school, physics class, stuff like this, I was really lucky to have some teachers that did a good job in really firing your imagination on stuff. And so I ended up being a mechanical engineer myself. I was never lucky enough to, get a job working on any of that space race stuff. But man, yeah, I love all that stuff.
The people are listening right now, and they're probably going, "Wow, he sounds so smooth." And we were talking about our radio experience. And,
yes.
You told me that you used to do radio, so you want to talk a little bit about how you got into that and what that was for you, because your approach to ASMR and your approach to radio is very similar.
It really is. Well, I did radio back in college. So 3 years, sophomore year through senior year, I had a Tuesday night 8 to 10 show on a college radio station, real low power. We probably got about a mile and a half into town. But my freshman year, I did tech stuff and behind the scenes stuff. I kind of was working up the courage to get behind the mic because, I was shy, crazy shy.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of turned into as I've gotten older, it's kind of turned into a bit of an anxiety thing. That's my personal, everybody's got a thing they struggle with. I've got the anxiety thing.
Yeah.
But it finally worked up, the courage and did 3 years of that. And I do draw a lot of parallels between how it felt, because I got nervous, right?
Yeah.
About a couple hours before the show on a Tuesday night, I had all my classes done, and so I'm starting to think about, well, is there anything in particular I want to play tonight? And started to get anxious, and finally kind of put my head in order and stuff like that, and getting right up a couple of minutes before there's adrenaline, right? And it's you're just kind of working off all this nervous energy, and then, you flip the switch and the mic goes live and you do the station ID at the top, and then it's boom, kind of freewheeling, kind of a roller coaster thing, right? Because I never wrote out every single song I was going to play for 2 hours. I might have the first 2 or 3 lined up, and then it was free association all the way through, right? And it was just like, I'll see you in 2 hours, and a lot of times I don't even remember what happened, right? But it's interesting because, because I play in a band as well, and I get that same feeling before I go live on stage. And so in both of those cases, once you start, you kind of have to deal with what happens, right? It's just going to go. It's going to go the way it's going to go, and we'll see you when we're done, right?
Yeah.
Even though ASMR shouldn't be like that, or it doesn't need to be like that, because I know I can make mistakes and I can edit. I could do something 4 times if I want and just edit the best parts together, but that's not the way my brain approaches it. I feel the same, if it's filming day, and whenever time I'm able to clear out and get an empty house or whatever, okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to go in to work a little late or something like that and work a long day. And I'm going to shoot my video in the morning. Okay. And I've been thinking about it and planning it out the last 2 weeks. And okay, I think I'm ready. So here the morning comes, and I feel the same. I feel the same thing in the middle of my chest that I felt on the radio when I was in college, and every time I strap on the bass and get in front of people. I don't know why exactly. So, but my approach ends up being very live, very, I guess almost, I've never done a stream, but I guess it'd be almost like I was doing a stream, right? And then I do edit, especially with I'm clearing my throat all the time. So I edit that stuff out, and sometimes I'll say something at the end that I forgot that I'll stick it back. I'll do some editing like that, but that never gets rid of the, oh gosh, the mic's going to go live here in 10 minutes kind of a feeling, and it's interesting to me that this would feel the same way as those other two kinds of activities.
We've got a few more minutes. I wanted to talk about how long have you been playing the bass? Let's talk a little bit about music.
Oh man, well, my brother and I had a couple of junky 6-string guitars around the house when we were growing up. They never ever had a full set of strings between them. In fact, I was known to I took a wire from a spiral bound notebook, the wire, and tried to use that as an E string on an electric guitar once, and it just kind of kept stretching and stretching and stretching. But so I always plinked around with that, and we'd listen to Kiss albums, and I always found myself gravitating towards picking out single low notes along with the songs, and my brother would always be playing chords and playing along with leads and stuff like that. So I kind of had a bass player's bent early on. So I kind of got muscle memory and stuff like that down at a real young age about how to hold a guitar and just kind of how to navigate around. And then one of the first things I bought for myself after college was my first bass.
You remember what it was?
Yeah, it was a Fender Precision Lite, Lyte. It was like it had a downsized precision bass body. It had both P and J pickups. So it was just like this it was still a 34-inch scale, but everything was just a little bit miniature on it. I'm not sure why, because I'm almost 6 feet. The thing probably looked like a toy when I was playing it, but that's what I was drawn to when I first bought one. And that was, 23, 25 years ago or whatever. And I've been playing in cover bands ever since. And then this band that I'm in now, we write our own stuff, and it's been going on about the last 9 years or so.
Dang. I see a video called your album collection, and I was wondering, what are some of your favorite vinyls that you have in your collection?
Well, what I tried to do with that video is pick out the first bands that, as a kid who's kind of listening to a lot of music and kind of forming kind of the bedrock of a palette, the things that they're interested in. Yeah. What are the early bands that really kind of sent me in particular directions? Kiss was always number one. That was our first thing I got into. First album I ever bought was double platinum, when I was 9 years old or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And Kansas was big for me early. Elton John, Jethro Tull, Frank Zappa.
Love Zappa.
Kansas, if I didn't say Kansas.
Yeah, you said Kansas.
Those are the, I think that was 6. And so I picked out one album from each of those 6 early formative bands, and that's what I showed off in that video.
I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show today. It really does mean a lot to me. And,
no problem, Chris. It's been fun.
And guys, don't forget to subscribe to Gaslamp ASMR.
Yeah, I have an ASMR channel.
Yeah, he does have an ASMR channel. That's kind of how we got on the show. But yeah, guys, go subscribe to Gaslamp ASMR. And if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Right about now, you'll see a Patreon button coming up. And if you want to, and if you feel like, it's something that you want to do, go ahead and look at all of our tiers and look and see what else that we offer. But with that in mind, my name is ChristopherNotWalken. This was Eric, a.k.a. Gaslamp ASMR. This is the Dirty Nerdy Show.